Captain Ji-hoon Park stared at the screen in front of him. The distress signal blinked red against the black of space. It was weak, almost dying, but it was there. His ship, the Defiant Hope, had picked it up 3 hours ago while patrolling the Outer Rim territories. How far? Ji-hoon asked. Lieutenant Daeho Choi checked his console. 2 hours at full speed, Captain. The signal is coming from an old cargo vessel. No life signs detected, but the scanner is having trouble reading through all that debris. Ji-hoon nodded. Take us there. Full speed. The Defiant Hope was not a large ship. It was a frigate built for quick patrols and peaceful exploration. Earth had been part of the Galactic Council for 23 years now. In that time, humanity had learned to keep its head down and follow the rules. The galaxy was vast, and humans were still the newcomers. Dr. Nari Kim walked onto the bridge. She was the ship's xenobiologist, an expert on alien species. Captain, do we know what kind of ship it is? Looks like a Vacrine trading vessel, Daeho said. Old model. Could be abandoned. Nari frowned. The Vacrine Consortium was powerful in the galaxy. They controlled trade routes across dozens of star systems. They had friends on the Galactic Council. Earth had been warned many times not to interfere with Vacrine business. We still have to check it out, Ji-hoon said firmly. Protocol says we respond to all distress signals. 2 hours later, the Defiant Hope pulled alongside the damaged cargo ship. It was drifting, dead in space. Hull breaches scarred its side like wounds. Whatever had happened here, it had been violent. Prepare a boarding party, Ji-hoon ordered. I'm going over. Captain, maybe you should stay here, Nari said carefully. Ji-hoon shook his head. If there are survivors, they need to see a face, not just soldiers. Daeho gathered 4 Marines. They put on their suits and checked their weapons. Ji-hoon and Nari joined them. Together, they crossed from the Defiant Hope through the airlock into the damaged vessel. Inside, emergency lights flickered. The air was cold and thin. Ji-hoon's suit display showed minimal oxygen. They moved through dark corridors, their lights cutting through the shadows. This way, Daeho said, following his scanner. I'm picking up something. Power signatures. Deeper in the ship, they found the cargo bay 10 minutes later. The door was sealed with a heavy lock. Daeho used a plasma cutter to burn through it. When the door finally opened, Ji-hoon stopped breathing. Rows of cryogenic cells filled the bay. 37 of them. Through the frosted glass, small faces looked out, children, dozens of children from species Ji-hoon recognized and some he didn't. Their eyes were closed in frozen sleep. Dear God, Nari whispered. She rushed to the nearest cell, checking the readings. They're alive. All of them. Ages 4 to 14, from what I can tell. Different species. Trallian, Centauri, Bexian, even 2 human children. Ji-hoon felt rage building in his chest. Get them out? Get them out right now. The Marines worked quickly, carefully opening each cell. The children woke slowly, confused and afraid. Many started crying. Some screamed. They had been locked in the dark for who knew how long. Nari knelt beside a small Trallian girl with purple skin and large eyes. It's okay, she said softly. You're safe now. We're here to help. The girl just stared at her, trembling. Daeho explored the rest of the cargo bay. He found computers, medical equipment, and something worse. Neural implants. Genetic modification tools? Drugs? Captain, you need to see this. Ji-hoon looked at what Daeho had found. His hands clenched into fists. This wasn't just kidnapping. These children had been experimented on, changed, used. Find out where this ship came from, Ji-hoon ordered. Check every file, every record. While the Marines carried the children back to the Defiant Hope, Nari examined them. Many showed signs of abuse, scars, malnutrition, old injuries that had healed badly. The neural implants in their heads were sophisticated, expensive. Someone with money and power had done this. Back on the ship, the medical bay filled with small, frightened voices. The crew brought blankets and food. They tried to comfort the children, but many wouldn't speak. They had learned not to trust adults. The Tralian girl who Nari had spoken to earlier sat alone in a corner. After an hour, she finally spoke. Her voice was tiny and broken. "There are more," she said. Nari knelt beside her again. "More children?" The girl nodded. Tears ran down her purple cheeks. "Thousands. Different places. They take us. They hurt us. They make us work." Her small hand grabbed Nari's arm. "Please. Help them." She pulled out a piece of paper someone had given her. With a shaking hand, she drew stars, planets, a map. She marked locations, drawing from memory. Places she had been? Places she had heard the adults talk about. Nari's heart broke. "We will," she promised. "I swear we will help them." Deho found Ji-hoon in his quarters an hour later. The captain sat at his desk, staring at the data they had recovered from the cargo ship. "It's all here," Deho said quietly. "Transaction records, buyer lists, facility locations. The Vakrine Consortium is running the whole operation. They've been doing this for decades, selling children, using them as slaves, soldiers, test subjects." Ji-hoon's jaw tightened. "How many council species know about this from these records?" "At least 12, maybe more. They'd been covering it up, calling it cultural differences and internal affairs." Ji-hoon stood. He looked out the window at the stars. Somewhere out there, thousands of children were suffering, and the galaxy was doing nothing. "Send everything to Earth Command," he said. "Encrypted. Highest priority. And send it to every human colony, every ship we have. Captain, if we do this, we're starting something we can't stop. The Council will be furious. The Vakrine Consortium has protection. We could start a war." Ji-hoon turned to face him. His eyes were hard as stone. "Then we start a war. I didn't become a soldier to stand by and watch children suffer." "Send the data?" Deho nodded. "Yes, sir." In the medical bay, 37 children slept in real beds for the first time in months or years. They were safe, for now. But they were just the beginning. Across the ship, every crew member who had seen those cryogenic cells felt the same cold fury. The same determination? Something had to be done. Earth would receive the data in 6 hours. And when Earth found out what had been done to those children, the galaxy would learn what humanity did to those who hurt the innocent. The defiant hope turned toward home, carrying its precious cargo. Behind it, the damaged Vakrine ship drifted in space, silent evidence of a crime the galaxy had chosen to ignore, but humanity would not ignore it. Not now, not ever. Ambassador Haijin Lee stood before the Galactic Council. The chamber was massive, filled with representatives from 49 species. Each sat in their designated area, watching her with various types of eyes. Some looked curious. Others looked annoyed. She had requested this emergency session. Earth had that right, barely. As a newer member, humanity's voice didn't carry much weight. But today, Haijin didn't care about weight or politics. "Honorable council members," she began. 3 days ago, one of our ships responded to a distress signal. What they found demands immediate action from this body. She activated the holographic display. Images appeared above the council floor, the cargo ship, the cryogenic cells. The children's faces, frozen and afraid. 37 children, Haijin said. Her voice was steady, but her hands shook. Kidnapped, enslaved, experimented on. We traced the ship to the Vakrine Consortium. Murmurs filled the chamber. The Vakrine representative, a tall being with gray skin and 4 arms, stood immediately. "This is an outrageous accusation. One damaged ship proves nothing. These could be refugees we were transporting to safety." Haijin's eyes hardened. Refugees don't have neural implants forced into their brains. Refugees aren't locked in cargo bays. And refugees don't draw maps showing where thousands of other children are being held. She displayed more evidence. Transaction records. Facility locations, names, dates, the data that Captain Ji-hoon's crew had recovered. This operation spans 70 star systems. Children are being used as soldiers, miners, servants, and worse. The youngest we found was 4 years old. The chamber fell silent. Some council members looked uncomfortable. Others looked away. A few seemed genuinely shocked. I call for immediate council action, Haijin demanded. These facilities must be raided. The children must be freed. Those responsible must face justice. For 3 hours, the council debated. Haijin listened to excuse after excuse. Cultural differences. Internal species matters. We must respect sovereignty. The evidence could be falsified. Finally, the vote came. 47 species voted to monitor the situation but take no direct action. Only 3 voted for intervention. Earth, the Centauri Alliance, and the Draken Federation. Haijin stood in shock. You're choosing to do nothing? Children are suffering right now, and you're going to monitor the situation? The council speaker, an ancient being from a species that looked like floating crystals, spoke without emotion. The council has decided. This session is concluded. Haijin left the chamber. Her aide, Counselor Byung-woo Shin, followed her. What do we do now? We go home, Haijin said quietly, and we tell Earth the truth. The galaxy doesn't care. Back on Earth, President Sora Yang received the report in her office. She read it once, then read it again. Then she called an emergency meeting of the military command. Admiral Minho Kong arrived first. He was the supreme commander of the United Terran Defense Force. He had fought in the Unification Wars, back when Earth's nations still fought each other. He knew what war looked like. Madam President, he said. I've seen the evidence. It's real. The question is, what are we going to do about it? What can we do? Sora asked. We're bound by council law. We can't just invade sovereign territory. Admiral Kong leaned forward. With respect, Madam President, those laws were written to maintain the status quo. They were written to let the powerful stay powerful. Are we really going to follow laws that protect child slavery? Before Sora could answer, her assistant entered. Madam President, you need to see this. Someone had leaked the evidence, all of it. Within hours, every news network on Earth was broadcasting the images, the children's faces, the facilities, the proof that the Galactic Council knew and did nothing. Humanity watched in horror and rage. People took to the streets, not in protest, but in solidarity. Millions gathered in cities across Earth and the colonies. They held signs. They demanded action. They wanted their leaders to do something. Sora watched the feeds from around the world. She saw tears. She saw anger. She saw something she hadn't seen since the Unification Wars. Humanity united in purpose. That night she addressed the world. Every human everywhere stopped to listen. My fellow humans, Sora began, you have seen the evidence. You know the truth. The galaxy has chosen to look away. The Galactic Council has voted to do nothing while children suffer. They hide behind laws and politics. They speak of cultural differences and sovereignty. She paused, letting the words sink in. I say this to the galaxy and to our own people. We did not claw our way out of darkness. We did not end our own wars and unite our world. We did not reach for the stars, just to stand by and watch innocence be destroyed. Not when we can stop it. Her voice grew stronger. Effective immediately, I am recalling all human ambassadors and diplomats from Council space. We are withdrawing from the Galactic Council. And I am authorizing Admiral Kong to begin full mobilization of our military forces. The world held its breath. If the galaxy will not save these children, then humanity will. Every ship, every soldier, every resource we have, we go to war, not for conquest, not for glory, but because it's right, because those children deserve to be free, because some things are worth fighting for. She looked directly into the camera. To those who hold these children, release them now, and we will show mercy. Refuse, and you will learn what humans do when you threaten the innocent. We are coming. And hell is coming with us. The broadcast ended. For a moment, Earth was silent. Then the roar began, cheers, determination, a sense of purpose that humanity hadn't felt in generations. Investigator Jiwan Han watched the president's speech from a dingy bar on a space station in neutral territory. She was an intelligence operative, one of Earth's best. She had been gathering information on the Vacrine Consortium for 2 years. She finished her drink and stood. Time to go to work. Over the next 3 months, Jawan infiltrated 3 different slave facilities. She wore disguises, she bribed guards, she hacked computers. And she recorded everything. The footage she sent back to Earth was worse than anyone imagined. Children working in mines until they collapsed. Young ones with their minds wiped, turned into obedient servants. Test subjects screaming as aliens experimented on their bodies. Earth watched. And Earth remembered. At military bases across human space, volunteers flooded in. The UTDF had been a small, peacekeeping force of 200,000. Within 3 months, over 2 million people enlisted. Men and women, young and old. Former soldiers came out of retirement. Civilians learned to fight. Admiral Kong walked through the training facilities. He saw determination in every face. These weren't people who wanted glory. They were people who couldn't sleep at night knowing what was happening to those children. "We're ready, sir," his aide reported. "The Liberation Armada is assembled. 200 ships, 2 million soldiers." "They're waiting for orders." Minho looked at the data on his screen. Guwon's intelligence had identified 47 major facilities. Thousands of children were in each one. "Then let's bring them home," he said, on the defiant hope. Captain Jihoon Park prepared his crew. His ship would lead the armada. He thought about the 37 children they had saved, about the little Tralian girl who had drawn the map. "Captain," Nari said, entering his quarters, "the crew wants you to know we're with you, all of us, whatever comes." Jihoon nodded. "People are going to die, Nari. Good people. This won't be clean, I know," she said. "But if we do nothing, those children die. At least this way, they have a chance." Across human space, families said goodbye. Parents hugged children. Spouses kissed one last time. Everyone knew the risks. Everyone went anyway. The Galactic Council issued warnings, threats. They promised military action if Earth attacked. They said humans were being emotional and reckless. President Sora Yang sent one message in response: "Come and stop us." The Liberation Armada gathered at the edge of human space. 200 ships against an empire. David against Goliath, but humanity had rage on its side. And determination. And the absolute certainty that what they were doing was right. Admiral Kong gave the order. All ships. Begin jump sequence. Target. The slave facilities. Rules of engagement. Free the children. Eliminate any resistance. Show no mercy to slavers. Show only compassion to the victims. The fleet jumped into faster-than-light travel. When they emerged, the galaxy would burn, and every human soldier carried the same thought: for the children. Engineer Taeyong-oh stood in the weapons laboratory, staring at the blueprint in front of him. For 20 years, Earth had been a peaceful member of the Galactic Council. They had shared technology freely. They had learned from other species. They had been good neighbors. Now, Taeyong was going to use all that knowledge to build weapons. "The MP cannon is ready for testing," his assistant said. "It should disable any ship systems within a 2-kilometer radius." Taeyong nodded. "Good, what about the stealth coating?" "Applied to 15 frigates so far. They won't be invisible, but they'll be hard to detect until it's too late." Across Earth and the colonies, engineers worked around the clock. They took peaceful technology and weaponized it. Civilian transport ships became troop carriers. Mining equipment became siege weapons. Medical nanobots were reprogrammed to heal soldiers faster. The galaxy had shared their knowledge freely, never imagining humanity would turn it against them. They had underestimated human creativity, human desperation, human rage. General Subin Park commanded the Special Operations Division. She was training teams for surgical strikes, small groups that could infiltrate facilities, disable defenses, and protect children during the chaos of battle. "Remember," she told her soldiers, "speed and precision. We don't have time for long fights. Get in, secure the children, get out. Every second we waste is a second those kids are in danger." The soldiers nodded. They practiced on mock facilities, again and again, until every movement was perfect. Until they could do it in their sleep, Daeho Choi, promoted to training commander, watched new recruits learn to fight. Many had never held a weapon before. They were teachers, farmers, artists, but they learned fast, driven by purpose. Why did you join? Daeho asked one young woman during a break. I'm a mother, she said simply. I saw those children on the news. I couldn't stop thinking about them. What if it was my daughter? Someone has to help them. Daeho saw that same answer in 1,000 different faces. This wasn't an army of soldiers. It was an army of parents, siblings, and people who remembered what it meant to be helpless. Commander Minji Kwan stood on the bridge of her ship. The Thunder's Mercy, she commanded the first strike fleet. 25 ships that would hit the hardest targets first. Ma'am, her tactical officer said, we've received updated intelligence from Investigator Han. She's identified a facility on Kroner 7, 800 children. Heavy defenses? Minji studied the data. Automated turrets. Shield generators. A garrison of 200 Vacrian mercenaries. It would be bloody. That's our target, she said. Start planning the assault. On a distant space station, Jaewon Han moved through shadows. She had fake identification, stolen credentials, and information bought from disgruntled workers. She had infiltrated the Vacrian Consortium supply network. She found what she was looking for, shipping manifests. They showed where supplies were going, medical equipment, food rations, security systems. By tracking the supplies, she could find every facility. She copied the data and sent it in an encrypted burst transmission back to Earth. Then she disappeared into the crowd before security could trace the signal. Every piece of intelligence helped. Every facility location gave humanity another target, another chance to save children. Dr. Dong Yoon worked in a specialized facility on Earth. His job was preparing for what came after. The children they rescued would be traumatized, broken. They would need years of care. We're setting up recovery centers on every colony, his assistant explained. Trained psychologists, medical staff, translators who speak every major galactic language. Dong Yoon looked at files from the 37 children the Defiant Hope had rescued. Most still had nightmares. Many couldn't trust adults. 2 hadn't spoken a word since being freed. This is going to be harder than the fighting, he said quietly. Physical wounds heal. These wounds might last forever. But he kept working. Because those children deserved someone to care about what happened after the guns stopped firing, Captain. Ji-hoon Park visited the children from the cargo ship. They had been on Earth for 2 months now. Some were improving. Others were still lost in their trauma. The little Tralian girl, now named Hannah by the staff, was drawing. She always drew planets, stars, maps. Hello, Hannah, Ji-hoon said, kneeling beside her. She looked up. Recognition sparked in her eyes. You came. You rescued us. Yes, and we're going to rescue the others too. Your map helped us. You were very brave. Hannah's small hand reached out and touched his face. Will you bring them all home? Ji-hoon felt the weight of that promise. He thought of the thousands of facilities, the millions of children, the battles ahead. I will try, he said. I promise I will try. Back at military headquarters, Admiral Minho Kang gathered his commanders. The holographic display showed the entire operation. 47 simultaneous strikes. Thousands of moving parts. So many ways it could go wrong. We hit them all at once, he explained. They won't have time to move the children or destroy evidence. Speed is everything. Precision is everything. What about council forces? One commander asked. Intelligence says at least 5 species are sending military support to the Vacrian Consortium. Minho's face hardened. Then they're choosing to defend slavery. They'll be treated as enemy combatants. The room fell silent. Everyone understood what that meant. They wouldn't just be fighting the Vacrian. They'd be fighting parts of the Galactic Council itself. Are we ready for that? Another commander asked. We're outnumbered, outgunned. Yes, Minho said. But we're fighting for something they can't understand. We're fighting for children who have no one else. That's worth any odds. Nari Kim worked with the intelligence division, studying each facility. She identified which species the children belonged to, what medical care they'd need, what languages they spoke. This one, she pointed to a facility in the Singing Nebula. It's primarily used for genetic experiments. The children there will need immediate medical intervention. Some might not survive transport. Then we'll have medical ships standing by, the logistics officer said. Whatever they need. Every detail mattered. Every plan could save lives or cost them. President Sora Young visited a training base. She walked among the soldiers, shook hands, listened to their stories. They came from everywhere. All of Earth, all the colonies. United in purpose, one soldier, barely 18, stood at attention as she approached. Madam President, I just wanted to say thank you for giving us this chance. Sora frowned. Chance? To do something that matters. My whole life I wondered if I'd ever do anything important. Now I know I will. We're saving kids. That's everything. Sora felt tears sting her eyes. You're all so young. The children are younger, the soldier said simply. That night, Sora couldn't sleep. She thought about all the young people who had volunteered. Who might die? Who believed in Earth's cause so completely they'd risk everything? She thought about the Galactic Council's threats. About the species who were supporting the slavers. About how this could spiral into a larger war. But then she thought about the children. About Hannah's drawing. About the testimony of the 37 survivors. About the footage Ji-Wan had sent back. Some things were worth fighting for. Some evils couldn't be tolerated. She made her final decision that night. Even if it cost Earth everything, they would do this. They would be the ones who stood up. Who said no? Who fought when others looked away? 3 months of preparation ended. The Liberation Armada was ready. 200 ships. 2 million soldiers. Weapons that hadn't existed 3 months ago. Plans refined 1,000 times. Admiral Kong stood on the bridge of his flagship. Around him, the fleet assembled. Ships from Earth, from Mars, from the asteroid colonies, from every human settlement in space. All ships report ready, Admiral, his communications officer said. M.I.O. looked at the tactical display. 47 targets highlighted in red. 47 chances to save children. 47 battles that had to be won. Send the message, he ordered. To all ships. To all soldiers. This is it. We're not fighting for territory. Not for resources. Not for glory. We're fighting because those children have no one else. We're fighting because it's right. We're fighting because we're human and humans protect the innocent. He paused. Let's bring them home. The fleet jumped to faster than light. When they emerged, the galaxy would learn what happened when you threatened Earth's children, and heaven help anyone who stood in their way. The fleet emerged from faster-than-light travel in perfect formation. 47 human task forces appearing simultaneously across the galaxy. The Liberation Armada had arrived. Captain Ji-Hoon Park watched his tactical display light up with targets. His group faced a facility on a moon called Darkwater. Intelligence said 300 children were held there. The defenses were heavy. All ships, attack formation, he ordered. Remember the mission? Protect the children above all else. The Defiant Hope dove toward the facility with 5 other frigates following. Enemy ships moved to intercept. Vacrine mercenary vessels, sleek and deadly. Weapons free, Ji-Hoon said calmly. The space around Darkwater erupted in fire. Human ships used their new EMP weapons, disabling enemy shields before they could fully activate. Railguns fired at speeds the Vacrine hadn't expected. Earth's engineers had modified everything, making their weapons faster, harder, better. Enemy vessel disabled, Deho reported from Tactical. Moving to the next target. The battle was brutal but quick. Within 20 minutes, the orbital defenses were destroyed. Now came the harder part, the ground assault. Lieutenant Deho Choi led the first team down to the surface. His dropship shook as they entered the atmosphere. Around him, 40 soldiers checked their weapons. They were special operations, the best humanity had. 30 seconds to landing, the pilot called. Deho reviewed the facility layout one last time. The children were held in the central building. Guards patrolled in shifts. Automated turrets covered the entrances. Remember, he told his team. Fast and precise. No room for error. They hit the ground running. Deho's team moved like shadows, using stealth coating on their armor. They disabled turrets with focused EMP bursts. Guards fell to silent weapons before they could raise alarms. Inside the facility, Deho found the children locked in cells. They looked at him with terrified eyes. Some tried to hide. They had learned that armored adults meant pain. "We're human," Deho said gently, removing his helmet. "We're here to help. You're going home." A small boy, maybe 6 years old, stepped forward. "Really?" "Really," Deho promised. "Come on, all of you. We're leaving." His team started opening cells. 300 children, scared and confused, but hope starting to bloom in their eyes. They were led outside to waiting transport ships. Then the resistance arrived. Vacrine mercenaries, realizing what was happening, mounted a counterattack. Heavy weapons fire tore through the compound. "Get those children to the ships," Deho shouted. His soldiers formed a defensive line, holding off the enemy while the transports loaded. 3 of his soldiers fell. 5 more were wounded. But every child made it to safety. As the last transport lifted off, Deho looked at his team. "Move out." Mission accomplished. Across the galaxy, similar battles raged. Commander Minji Quan led her fleet against a convoy in the Singing Nebula. Intelligence said the ships were transporting 2,000 children to a new facility. "Cut off their escape route," Minji ordered. Her ships moved to surround the convoy. The enemy fought back hard. Missiles filled the space between ships. Energy beams cut through the dark. One human destroyer took heavy damage, atmosphere venting from hull breaches. "All ships, focus fire on their engines," Minji commanded. "Disable them, don't destroy them. The children are aboard." It took skill and precision. Her gunners had to be perfect. Too much firepower and they'd kill the very children they were trying to save. Too little and the convoy would escape, one by one. The enemy ships went dead in space, engines destroyed but life support intact. Human boarding teams rushed aboard, fighting through the remaining guards to reach the children. Minji watched from her bridge as transport. After transport carried small figures to safety. 2,000 children. 2,000 lives saved, but the victory was costly. Her destroyer, the Morning Star, had taken fatal damage. 340 crew members died when the reactor went critical. They gave their lives protecting children they'd never met. "Remember them," Minji said quietly. "Remember why they fell." On Kroner 7, the battle was worse. General Subin Park had warned this would be the hardest target. 800 children held in a fortress built into a mountain. Automated defenses. Shield generators. 200 veteran mercenaries. The human assault teams dropped from orbit under heavy fire. 5 dropships were destroyed before reaching the ground. Soldiers died before they could even leave their ships, but they kept coming. Wave after wave. Human determination against Vacrine steel. Subin lead from the front, her armor scorched by enemy fire. Push through. Those children are counting on us. Her soldiers fought room by room, corridor by corridor. The facility's AI controlled dozens of automated weapons. Human hackers worked frantically to shut them down while soldiers died buying them time. Lieutenant Deho Choi arrived with reinforcements halfway through the battle. He had completed his mission at Darkwater and jumped immediately to Kroner 7 when he heard how bad it was. "General Park, we're here to assist," he reported. Together, they pushed deeper. The Vacrine mercenaries fought with desperation. They knew what would happen if they surrendered. Earth had promised justice, and justice would be harsh. After 6 hours of brutal combat, they reached the cells. 800 children, thin and scared. Some were so young they couldn't walk. Others had been turned into child soldiers, trained to fight, confused about who the enemy really was. "It's over," Subin told them. "You're free. All of you. No one will hurt you again." But as they evacuated, a Vacrine commander triggered the facility's self-destruct. Subin saw the countdown start. 3 minutes. Not enough time to get everyone out. Go, she shouted to her soldiers. Get the children to the ships. Move. General, you need to evacuate too, Deho said. Someone has to stay and try to stop this, she replied. Get them out. That's an order. Deho wanted to argue, but he saw the determination in her eyes. He saluted and ran, carrying 2 small children in his arms. Subin and a handful of volunteers stayed behind, racing to reach the self-destruct controls. The children's transports lifted off, racing away from the mountain dot with 30 seconds left. Subin reached the control room. Her fingers flew over the alien console, desperately trying to understand the system. 10 seconds, she found it. The override. She input the code her hackers had discovered weeks ago. 5 seconds, the countdown stopped. The facility went dark. Subin's knees almost gave out from relief. General Park to all units, she transmitted. Self-destruct disabled. Facility secured. All children are safe. The cheers over the CUM system were deafening, but not every mission went so well. Some facilities fought to the bitter end. Some killed children rather than let them be rescued. Some self-destructed before humans could arrive. Captain Ji-hoon Park received reports from across the galaxy. Victories and defeats. Lives saved and lives lost. The Liberation Armada was winning, but the cost was high. Captain, Nari said, her voice shaking. We just received word. The facility on Bayer Prime, the guards killed all the children before our teams could reach them. 200 children, gone. Ji-hoon closed his eyes. 200 they hadn't saved. 200 who had died waiting for rescue. Make sure the guards who did it don't leave that planet alive, he said coldly. The battles continued. Days turned to weeks. Humans struck at 47 facilities, then found more. Intelligence from freed children led to hidden locations. The operation grew beyond the original plan. Admiral Minho Kong coordinated from the command ship. Every day brought new challenges. Some Galactic Council species sent forces to help the Vacrine. Battles became more complex, more dangerous. Admiral, we're detecting Council warships moving to intercept our fleet at Blackstar Nexus. His tactical officer reported, Blackstar Nexus, the largest facility, 12,000 children held there. The heart of the Vacrine operation. Send everything we have, Minho ordered. That's the target that ends this. We take Blackstar, we break their whole network. He knew it would be the biggest battle yet, but it had to be done across the galaxy humanity fought on. For every soldier who fell, 10 more volunteered. For every ship destroyed, civilians retrofitted another. Earth's colonies sent everything they had, resources, supplies, people. The galaxy watched in shock. They had expected humans to fail quickly, to be overwhelmed, to give up when the cost got too high, but humans didn't give up. They couldn't. Not when children were suffering. On Earth, people gathered in public squares to watch the news. Every freed child was celebrated. Every fallen soldier was mourned. Every battle was followed with desperate hope. President Sora Yang barely slept. She read every casualty report, attended every memorial service she could, wrote letters to families who lost loved ones. Is it worth it? Her aide asked one night. All these lives. All this destruction. Sora looked at a photograph on her desk. The 37 children from the Defiant Hope, smiling now. Safe, growing, healing. Ask them, she said simply. The war raged on. The galaxy was burning, and humanity was the one holding the torch. The Blackstar Nexus was the largest space station in neutral territory. It looked like a massive wheel spinning in the void, kilometers across. Inside were 12,000 children. And inside were the leaders of the entire Vacrine slave operation. Captain Ji-hoon Park stood on the bridge of the Defiant Hope, looking at the station on his screen. Around him, the entire human fleet assembled. 130 ships. Everything Earth had left after months of battle. This is it, he said to his crew. We end this today. The battle for Black Star Nexus lasted 3 days. It was the largest space battle humanity had ever fought. Vacrine forces threw everything at the human fleet. Missiles by the thousands. Energy weapons that could cut ships in half. Mercenary vessels from a dozen species, but humans had learned. They had adapted. Their tactics had evolved through months of warfare. They fought smarter, harder, more desperately than their enemies thought possible, Commander. Minji Quan led strike teams that disabled the station's external weapons. Her ships danced between enemy fire, using the new stealth systems to appear and disappear like ghosts. "Target the power generators," she ordered. "Cut off their shields." Her gunners were perfect. One by one, the station's defenses went dark. On the second day, human boarding teams breached the station's hull. Lieutenant Daeho Choi led 500 soldiers into the chaos inside. The corridors were a nightmare of close combat. Room to room. Corridor by corridor. "Secure the children's sections first," Daeho commanded. "Everything else is secondary?" His teams found children in hundreds of cells scattered throughout the station. Some were in cryogenic sleep. Others were awake and terrified as explosions rocked the station around them. "We're getting you out," Daeho told them over and over. "Stay calm. We're here to help." But the Vacrine leadership knew they had lost. On the third day, as human forces closed in on the command center, they triggered the station's self-destruct. Alarms screamed throughout. Black Star Nexus, a countdown appeared on every screen. 30 minutes until the reactor overloaded and destroyed everything within 100 kilometers. "All units, emergency evacuation," Admiral Minho Kong ordered from the fleet. "Get those children out now." Chaos erupted. Human soldiers grabbed children and ran for the evacuation pods. Ships docked at every available port, loading as many people as possible. There wasn't enough time. There were too many children. Jihoon made a decision that would haunt him forever. The Defiant Hope stays. We'll manually override the self-destruct. Everyone else evacuate. "Captain, that's suicide," Nari protested. "It's the only way to save them all," Jihoon said. "The evacuation needs more time. We're giving it to them." He looked at his bridge crew. They had been with him since the beginning. Since they found those first 37 children. "I'm not ordering you to stay. Anyone who wants to leave, go now." No one moved. "Then let's get to work." Jihoon said. The Defiant Hope detached from the fleet and flew directly into the station's core. Jihoon and a skeleton crew of 20 volunteers left their ship and entered the reactor chamber. The heat was unbearable. Radiation alarms screamed. They had minutes, maybe less. "There," Jihoon pointed. "The override controls. If we can shut down the chain reaction." They worked with desperate speed. Outside, evacuation pods streamed away from the station. Thousands of children in human arms racing toward safety. The countdown hit 5 minutes. Then 3. Then 1. "I've got it," shouted the engineer who had come with them. "Shutting down the primary systems now." The countdown stopped with 40 seconds remaining. The reactor powered down. The station went dark, but it didn't explode. Jihoon's communicator crackled. "Captain Park, this is the fleet. All children are evacuated. The station is secure." "You did it." He looked at his crew. They were exhausted, burned by radiation. Some wouldn't live through the week, but they had succeeded. 12,000 children were safe. "Get us out of here," Jihoon said weakly. The Defiant Hope limped back to the fleet. When Jihoon reached the medical bay, he collapsed. The doctors worked on him for hours. The radiation exposure was severe. He would survive, but he would never be the same. Admiral Minho Kong stood in the command center and reviewed the final numbers. 6 months of war. 156 facilities raided. 43,000 children freed. 800 human ships damaged or destroyed. 32,000 soldiers dead. 90,000 wounded. The cost was staggering. But so was the victory. The Vacrine Consortium was shattered. Its leadership captured or killed. Its network destroyed. Hundreds of slave facilities shut down permanently, and the Galactic Council could no longer pretend it hadn't known. Ambassador Haijin Lee stood before the council once more. But this time she wasn't asking. She was demanding. Earth has done what you refused to do, she said. We freed those children. We stopped the slavery you ignored. And now we have evidence of exactly which council members knew. Which ones profited. Which ones helped. She displayed names, documents, financial records. Proof that 12 council members had been directly involved in the slave trade. The council chamber erupted in chaos. Species turned on each other. Alliances shattered. Within hours, 8 council members resigned. 4 were arrested by their own governments. The remaining members scrambled to save their positions. Earth demands justice, Haijin continued. We demand the Child Protection Accords. No child of any species will be enslaved anywhere ever again. Any species that violates this will face the full wrath of humanity and our allies. The Draken Federation stood in support. So did the Centauri Alliance. 15 other species, moved by humanity's sacrifice, joined them. The old council was dead. A new one was being born. President Sora Yang stood in the memorial garden on Earth. Before her stretched a field of markers. 32,000 names. 32,000 humans who died freeing children they never met. Was it worth it? Someone asked behind her. Sor turned. It was Hannah, the little Trellian girl who had drawn the first map. She was taller now, healthier, growing strong. You tell me, Sora said gently. Hannah looked at the memorial, then at the children playing nearby. Thousands of rescued children, laughing and safe. Learning to be kids again? Yes, Hannah said. It was worth it. Because of them we're free. Dr. Dong Yun worked in the Children's Recovery Institute. It had grown beyond anything he imagined. Facilities on 50 worlds now, helping freed children heal from their trauma. Some would recover quickly. Others would need years. Some might never fully heal, but they had a chance now. A chance to live. To grow. To be safe. Dr. Nari Kim, recovered from her own injuries during the war, worked alongside him. We saved 43,000, she said. But intelligence says there are still thousands more in hidden facilities we haven't found. Then we keep looking, Dong-Yun replied. For as long as it takes. Captain Ji-Hoon Park sat in his hospital room on Earth. The radiation treatments were working, but slowly. He would never serve on a ship again. His body had given everything for those children, but he didn't regret it. Admiral Minho Kong came to visit. The government wants to give you the highest honor. For Black Star Nexus. Ji-Hoon shook his head. Give it to the 32,000 who didn't come home. They're the real heroes. You're all heroes, Minho said quietly. Every single one of you. Lieutenant Daeho Choi became commandant of the UTDF Academy. He taught the next generation of soldiers. But he didn't teach them glory or conquest. He taught them duty, responsibility, the moral weight of using force. We're not warriors because we love violence, he told his students. We're warriors because sometimes violence is the only language evil understands. Use it wisely. Use it justly. And never forget why you're fighting. 10 years passed. The galaxy was different now. Child slavery still existed in dark corners, but humanity hunted relentlessly. Any species caught enslaving children faced human strike teams within days. Earth had become the guardian, the protector, the species that wouldn't look away. The memorial on Earth grew larger. More names added every year. Soldiers who died on rescue missions. Investigators who were killed gathering intelligence. Ship crews who gave their lives protecting children. Hannah, now grown, became a doctor. She specialized in trauma care for rescued children. She understood what they felt, what they needed. She had been there. On the anniversary of Black Star Nexus, she visited the memorial. She placed flowers at Captain Park's name. He had died 3 years earlier, his body finally giving out from the radiation damage. Thank you, she whispered. All of you. You gave us our lives back. Around the galaxy, other freed children grew up. Some became doctors like Hannah. Others became teachers, engineers, artists. They remembered where they came from. They remembered who saved them, and they made sure their own children knew the story. How Earth had burned the galaxy to save them. How humans had refused to look away. How sometimes doing the right thing cost everything. The phrase spread across 1,000 worlds, whispered in 100 languages. Do not anger the humans. They protect the young like demons. They remember every child lost. And they never, ever forgive those who harm innocents. The Galactic Council reformed and changed, passed the Child Protection Accords. It became law across civilized space. Any violation brought swift response. Usually led by humans. President Sora Young, now elderly and retired, sat in her garden one evening.